We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
Disseminate propaganda to influence people's minds, and this is a major function of the CIA.
Hussein and his regime are concealing their efforts to produce more weapons of mass destruction.
Welcome back to Notify America. The Biden administration, unsurprisingly, has its fingerprints all over this Colorado Supreme Court case that just ruled to disqualify Trump from the ballot. New information has been found that the case against Trump in Colorado was initiated by a group called Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, abbreviated CREW, led by a man named Noah Bookbinder, who serves as the president and the CEO. This man, Bookbinder, he holds a position on the Department of Homeland Security Advisory Council within the Biden administration. In a press release, Bookbinder wrote this: "Our Constitution clearly states that those who violate their oath by attacking our democracy are barred from serving in government. It has been an honor to represent the petitioners, and we look forward to ensuring that this vitally important ruling stands." So to summarize, in order to save democracy, an official within the Biden administration supported an anti-democratic suit to have former President Trump removed from the ballot. And if you think it stops with the DHS or this one man Bookbinder at DHS, think again, because this is the 5-alarm fire, folks. They will do anything that they have to keep Donald Trump from becoming president again. Watch this.
We just have to demonstrate that he will not take power. If he does run, making sure he, under legitimate efforts of our Constitution, does not become the next president again.
They just took him off the ballot, folks. This is crazy. Let's do a thought experiment for a moment. Let's just change the names around. Instead of Joe Biden doing this, let's say Vladimir Putin, who everyone calls a thug, a dictator, who's targeted his political opponent, sicked his Justice Department on him, charged him with fake crimes, tried to liquidate his assets, i.e. ruin him financially, and finally, when all that still didn't work, he says, screw it, let's just remove him from the ballot altogether. And, obviously Vladimir Putin, such a bad man, right? Well, sorry, folks, that's our president, that's this administration, and things are only heating up. After Colorado's ruling, here's the other states that are now planning to move forward and do the exact same thing, remove Donald Trump from the ballot for the crime of insurrection, even though he's never been convicted for the crime of insurrection. How does that work exactly? Well, we now have Colorado already deciding that, Maine expected to decide on Friday. In California, efforts are now underway to disqualify him. The lieutenant governor over there calling on the Secretary of State to move forward with all legal pathways to do the exact same thing. New Hampshire's now considering this. Michigan may soon join Colorado in removing Trump's name. Arizona's Secretary of State says he lacks the authority to disqualify Trump, but the issue remains open. And New Mexico is currently exploring the exact same option. But when you dig deeper, right, there's more to the story, because they all know that the U.S. Supreme Court's going to knock this down. So what's the point? They must know this is only going to help him in the polls. His support grows whenever they do this type of thing. When they unfairly target him, everyone seems to rally around him, even people who don't support him. And the reason is because decent people realize what they're doing is so beyond wrong at this point. Their goal very well could be to just dehumanize him, make it clear to everyone that he's beneath us. He doesn't have the same rights as every other American. Make it clear he's a legit threat to democracy. Here's Tucker Carlson last night on his new show, Tucker Carlson Uncensored, exposing what's really happening here. And like always, he does a great job. Watch this.
This was pretty puzzling to watch. Whatever else January 6th was, and in some ways we still don't know exactly what it was not a Trump-led insurrection. The crowd had no guns. They had no plan to overthrow the government. Nothing like that has ever emerged. And above all, Trump was not leading it. He was miles away at the White House at the time, where he issued a public statement calling for calm and nonviolence. So why were the people on television telling us that Trump led an insurrection? This was, of course, a lie, but it was also a very obvious lie. So clearly we were watching the rollout of a talking point, words crafted for a specific purpose. But what was the purpose? We got an answer to that question yesterday when the Colorado Supreme Court ruled that because he led an insurrection, Donald Trump's name cannot appear on the state's ballot next fall. The 4 liberal judges who concluded this cited as their justification Article 3 of the 14th Amendment, which was written in 1868 to keep former Confederate officials from holding office. That was the sum total of their reasoning. Despite the fact Donald Trump has never been convicted by any court of insurrection, and although the 14th Amendment specifically does not apply to the presidency, Donald Trump cannot run for president because he's an insurrectionist. This seemed like lunacy, because it was lunacy. 3,000 miles away in El Salvador, there was no question about what was happening. The United States has lost its ability to lecture any other country about, quote, democracy, wrote Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele. And yet in this country, no one on the left dared say that. Instead, Donald Trump's enemies celebrated. The Atlantic magazine expressed gratitude that unelected judges had, quote, rescued the country from the desires of voters, because actually, that's democracy. And then there was Jenna Griswold, that's the Colorado Secretary of State. You may not have seen her before, but you will instantly recognize the category she represents. Unhappy 39-year-old liberal women with Ivy League degrees and a deep streak of authoritarian impulses. Here's Griswold on MSNBC last night explaining that a conventional legal process is no longer necessary for the left to get its way. No more trials or evidence or jury verdicts. An accusation made on television is now enough to remove a frontrunner from the presidential race. If Nancy Pelosi and Joe Scarborough call you bad, Americans are not allowed to vote for you. Watch.
Look, I believe he incited the insurrection. There were big questions around Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, and the Colorado Supreme Court has weighed in a very loud way, making themselves clear. Frankly, we've never had a president try to steal the presidency and engage in insurrection ever before. So Trump's actions are unprecedented. The Colorado Supreme Court confirmed that the district court got it right, that he did engage in insurrection. I think Section 3 of the 14th Amendment has to apply to the presidency, because if not, it's a get-out-of-jail-free card. And in a country of laws where no man is above another, we can't have one office be able to do whatever they want when it comes to rebellion and then be able to be seated in office again.
None of this seems very American. All of it looks like the actual end of democracy.